At Busch Stadium in St. Louis, interleague play continues between the Royals and the Cardinals. And last night, the Royals rallied late and took Game 1 5-4. And welcome back to Busch Stadium. I'm Ryan Lefevre with Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery. This is game number 8 in a long road trip. The Royals are 4-3 and riding, believe it or not, Alcides Escobar's bat.
Well, it's great to see him really get his bat going. He came out of spring training camp swinging a good bat. We saw his defense early in the season. Then he hit that slump. He went to the drawing board with Kevin Seitzer, started working on being a more complete hitter, started using the entire field, trying to not be as much of a pull hitter, and he's really calmed down at the plate. He's really been a hitter that's just really kind of taking what they give him. So it's really great to see him make that adjustment and seeing the good results from it.
Man, you talk about good results. Look at these numbers. 7 games the Royals have played so far on this road trip, and in 6 of those 7 games, Escobar has had 2 or more hits. And he played a big role on Sunday in helping Vin Mazzero win his first game as a Royal.
Yeah, a really great opportunity for him to use the defense that Alcides Escobar provides. He's a ground ball pitcher. He certainly needs to keep the ball down, keep the ball in the infield. If he has infield outs, he's going to be very successful. I think that's what he did a nice job of on Sunday.
5 double plays on Sunday. Escobar was involved in all 5. Last night, Albert Pujols made an error. He was hitless, and he made the final out of the game. That's the first time that's ever happened in his career. We'll have more from Busch Stadium right after this. Royals baseball is brought to you by the Missouri Lottery. When you play, students win. So here we go with the I-70 series. The 2 best teams in Missouri hooking up. Missouri players are all around the major leagues. And Pat Parist of Fox Sports Midwest takes a look at the 10 best current major league players from this state.
Ryan Howard, the Lafayette High School graduate, won the NL's MVP in 2006 and is the fastest player to reach the 200 home run mark. Howard is a 3-time All-Star who helped the Phillies win the World Series in 2008. Kyle McClellan. McClellan, a native of Florissant, was the 3rd Hazelwood West High School graduate to make the major leagues. Morgan Burkhart had a cup of coffee with the Royals about a decade ago, and Al Nipper was a pitcher with the Red Sox in the early 80s. Logan Morrison. The Marlins outfielder was born in Kansas City and grew up idolizing Royals third baseman George Brett. Morrison moved to Louisiana when he was 16, but came back to Missouri to attend Maple Woods Community College, just like one Albert Pujols. Max Scherzer. The Parkway Central High School grad was drafted by the Cardinals in the 43rd round of the 2003 draft, but he chose to attend the University of Missouri instead. One of the top AL pitchers this year, Scherzer was born with a rare condition known as heterochromia iridium, causing his right eye to be blue while his left eye is brown. Mark Burley. Born in St. Charles, Burley played high school ball for Francis Howell North High School until he was cut his sophomore season. Drafted by the White Sox in 1998, Burley has rather quietly racked up 4 All-Star appearances, a no-hitter, a perfect game, and a World Series championship. Sean Markham. The newest Milwaukee Brewer attended the University of Missouri, but eventually transferred to Missouri State University. Sean grew up in Kansas City as a Cubs fan and named his first son after his favorite player growing up, Ryne Sandberg. Darren Oliver. Darren Oliver is currently pitching for the Texas Rangers for the 3rd time in his career. The KC native has played for 8 different teams, including the Cardinals, and was the St. Louis starter on September 7, 1998, when Big Mac hit number 61. Jake Arrieta. Arrieta hasn't captured baseball's attention yet, but he will. One of the AL's wins leaders, Arrieta was born in Farmington, Missouri, but grew up in Plano, Texas. He has a lively fastball, just like his favorite player growing up in Texas, Nolan Ryan. John Mayberry. Like his father, John Sr., John Jr. is a big dude. The Rockhurst High School graduate now plays with Philadelphia, but chose to get his degree from Stanford University before signing with a major league team. Sam LeCure. The current Reds pitcher is the 8th and youngest child in the LeCure family. He played shortstop and pitcher for Elias Inter-Parish High School in Jefferson City and is one of the bright up-and-comers with the Cincinnati Reds. Interleague play from St. Louis. Royals and the Cardinals, Game 2.
And Royals baseball comes to you in high definition, brought to you by Time Warner Cable. Get no fee HD with digital TV from Time Warner Cable. Another big crowd here tonight, over 40,000 here last night as the Royals scored in the 8th inning on an Albert Pujols error and took game 1 5-4. This will be the second time, Monty, the Royals face Jake Westbrook. Here are the Kia Motors numbers from May the 21st.
Yeah, he threw a really nice game against the Royals on that game. That was actually the last game he was able to make it into the 7th inning. So he had an unusual game there. Nice game, hasn't followed up since.
Interesting thing about the first 2 games of that series, the Royals won game 1 3-0. Cardinals won game 2 3-0, and then won the final game on Sunday afternoon 9-8. Alex Gordon drove in 2 runs early in the game last night to give the Royals a 3-0 lead. Finished the night 1 for 5. He has driven in 6 during this road trip. Two balls, 2 strikes. And if you haven't noticed already, Jake Westbrook works fast, very fast.
Infielders really like that, like to get the defense going for him.
That wasn't the only good start for Jake Westbrook against the Royals. In his career, he is 7-3 with a 2.4 earned run average. And if you go with his last 2 starts against the Royals, he has given up just 1 earned run in the last 14 innings.
Yeah, he's been very solid against the Royals. Likes to throw that sinker. He'll throw a lot more changeups against the left-handers.
Alex fills out the count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. So if Westbrook and Mazzaro are both on tonight, the infield defense will be busy. Another foul ball, still 3-2. Here's the rest of the Royals lineup tonight. After Alex Gordon, it's Melky Cabrera, Eric Hosmer, Jeff Francoeur, Mike Moustakas, Matt Trainer, Chris Getz, Alcides Escobar, and Vin Mazzaro. Alex strikes out on a fastball and 9-pitch at bat. Westbrook doesn't strike out many. That's just his 39th all year. So here is that defense that could be busy tonight. Behind Westbrook, Matt Holliday, Colby Rasmus, Lance Berkman in the outfield, and then Daniel Descalzo, Ryan Terrios, Skip Schumacher, Albert Pujols behind the plate, and Yadier Molina. Ball 1 to Melky Cabrera, 2 hits and a run scored last night. Now has 82 hits this year. That is the 5th most in the American League. 1 ball and 1 strike. Just missed the corner. Alfonso Marquez is the home plate umpire tonight. Two and two.
Westbrook coming right at the Royals hitters early here in the game, trying to get a ground ball.
And again, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Man, he gets about 6 inches off of the pitcher's rubber in between pitches. Gets the ball back and he's ready to go. And there is his first ground ball out. Melky Cabrera is down. And there are 2 outs in the first inning. Much warmer tonight than it was last night, about 9 degrees warmer. 84 degrees at first pitch. The game started at 6:14, and the time and temp is brought to you by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI. And now Eric Hosmer with 2 outs and nobody on. And he takes a strike over the outside. Now breaks his bat, and Westbrook gets 2 ground ball outs in a scoreless top of the first inning. Well, when the Cardinals took the field in the top of the first inning and the Royals in the bottom of the first, they were wearing the caps of Joplin High School, the Eagles, and the Royals carried their own caps on, signed the Joplin ball caps for a player that was standing in each position. So a nice gesture from both teams as the Royals and Cardinals are raising funds for the victims of the tornado in Joplin, Missouri. Cardinals lineup has Ryan Theriot back in there at shortstop. Colby Rasmus returns to center field. Yadier Molina is behind the plate. And tonight, Tony La Russa, as he has done so often, will bat the pitcher 8, Jake Westbrook, with Skip Schumacher hitting 9th. Here's a key report on Vin Mazzaro, and he faced the Cardinals, Monty, 1 year ago tonight.
Yeah, very ironic that it was 1 year ago tonight. Keep an eye on Matt Holliday against Vin. He hit a 2-run home run and also had an RBI single in that game.
And he throws a strike to Ryan Theriot, one of 3 regulars who got last night off. It was a very late Thursday night for the Cardinals, an extra inning game in Washington, which was a night game. And they had to fly to St. Louis, didn't land till about 4 a.m. 1-1 on Theriot. That pitch stayed up, and it's a line past Hosmer off the wall on the right field side. Francoeur plays it well. Theriot is in with a double. And now Ram Trucks will show us the Royals defensively with Gordon Cabrera, Francoeur in the outfield. On the dirt, Mike Moustakas, Alcides Escobar, Chris Getz, Eric Hosmer, with Matt Trainer behind the plate. So the Cardinals have lost 7 in a row. However, they are still just 1 game back of the Milwaukee Brewers in the National League Central. So not happy about the losing streak, but they can't be too depressed about it.
Right, even our cab driver last night let us know that everyone else that's in the top 4 slots in that division lost their game. So the Cardinals did not lose any ground.
They were 2.5 ahead when the losing streak began. Colby Rasmus, after the first pitch, fouls it away. This is the longest losing streak for the Cardinals since they lost 9 in a row in 2007. Rasmus did not start last night, but he appeared late as a pinch hitter, and he struck out. That makes him 0 for his last 12. No balls, 2 strikes for the former Cardinals first-round draft pick. That was in 2005, and the very next year he was the Cardinals minor league player of the year. Still no balls, 2 strikes. So Mazzaro coming right at the Cardinals, throwing strikes. He had some difficulty throwing strikes in his last start, even though he was the winner. He had 5 walks in 7 innings. 3 of those were leadoff walks. It's pretty amazing when you look at his line that he was able to throw 7 scoreless innings. He walked 5, he hit a batter. The leadoff man was on in 5 of 7 innings. 11 base runners in 7 innings, but no runs. This pitch gets away from Trainer, and now the Cardinals have a runner at third with nobody out.
Right. There's a slider. It looks like he tries to bury it a little bit too much. Get on the back foot of the left-handed batter. Gets in the dirt. Trainer at least is able to keep it a little bit from going into the dugout. Who knows on a pitch like that? Very tough for a catcher to handle.
Now we call that a back foot slider, but is the pitcher literally using the back foot of the hitter as a target?
No, usually not. Usually the lower portion of the strike zone is what I would try to throw my pitch toward and let it break out of the strike zone.
Same pitch again, fouled away by Rasmus. So anyway, all those little tidbits somehow resulted in 7 scoreless innings for Vin Mazzaro, but of course the statistic that really jumps out and grabs you, 5 double plays behind him in the 7 innings.
Right. Had you not read the footnote in that box score, you wouldn't have believed that he gave up no runs with all those base runners.
Misses outside, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Left field. Alex trying to get an angle so he can get behind it and then couldn't find the seams. So it's a sacrifice fly for Rasmus. And tonight it's the Cardinals who score first. So 2 pitches up there, Monty, the double, then the sacrifice fly. In his last start, 14 of 21 outs were on the ground. Only 10 total ground ball outs in his first 3 games.
Yeah, as we can see, if he gets the ball up in the strike zone, they're going to be able to get base runners, do some damage, and I think regardless of the situation, he has to be down in the strike zone. Nobody on base, guys on base, he has to be down in the strike zone to get outs.
And at the knees, a strike to Albert Pujols. Still without an RBI against the Royals this year, but in his career, 51 RBIs in 49 games against the Royals, and he's quickly down in the count. No balls and 2 strikes. Only 1 of the 4 hits going for extra bases, and this is popped up as high as the arch. Escobar makes the catch, and there are 2 down. Mazzaro, he didn't shy away from Pujols at all.
No, he didn't. I think he really maybe got away with a little slider here. Good sign that Albert Pujols is not seeing the ball real well when he misses a ball that's up in the strike zone, especially like a hanging slider. Usually he doesn't miss that pitch. He's missing those more frequently now. Here we see a strike down in the strike zone, a nice sinker. And here's a slider, just kind of hangs up there. Albert doesn't do a good job on getting extended.
Fouled by Matt Holliday. Holliday drove in a run last night when he was hit by a pitch with the bases loaded. Cardinals scored in 1 inning last night. They got 4 runs on only 2 hits in the 3rd. There were 3 walks and 2 hit batters. 1 ball, 1 strike, and as Monty pointed out, Holliday got to Vin Mazzaro when Mazzaro started here a year ago tonight with the A's. He went 3 for 3 in that game with a home run. Cardinals ended up beating Oakland that night 6-4. Two and 2. Cardinals still lead the National League in hitting. They are batting .270 as a bunch. They have scored the 2nd most runs in the National League. They have the highest on base percentage. So Mazzaro must throw strikes because the Cardinals will take pitches. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes on Holliday.
Doing a nice job on mixing it up against Matt Holliday here. I know he has that in the back of his mind, what he did against him last time. So he's trying to probably do a little bit different approach this time.
On the ground, big hop. Moustakas handles it, and over to Hosmer. That's the inning. Leadoff double for the Cardinals. They turn it into a run. Royals baseball is brought to you by AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network. By Panera Bread Catering. Order online at PaneraKansas.com. And by Chevy. See your Kansas City area Chevy dealers. We remind you to look for the Miller Lite Taste Greatness moment later in tonight's game. Jeff Francoeur early in the game last night drove in a run. That was in the first inning with a base hit. Now a dive. It's short by Theriot and on target to Pujols. Let's welcome in Joel Goldberg.
Well, Ryan, Mike Moustakas coming up right now, and last night bloodied up a little bit as he scored the winning run in the game. Anything it takes, he says, for a victory as we look back at this thing. And all right, so maybe he's not going to get incredible style points for the self-inflicted wound. Got a bloody nose, and yes, he told me he got a little bit of grief from his teammates as well. But as he was pointing that out to me, Alex Gordon was sitting next to him in the clubhouse, and Alex said, "What's wrong with that? You got in there, you got the job done, a little bit of blood, no collision." Now, you know, Moose did say, guys, that if it's an out or a loss, it doesn't feel as good. But safe, game-winning run, and a win felt just fine. Guys?
All right, Joel, 1 ball, 2 strikes on Moustakas. Got that inning started with a leadoff walk against Chris Carpenter in the 8th inning. That trainer bunted him up. And then the error on the ground ball from Escobar that got through Albert Pujols. Moustakas swings and misses. Molina down to first. That will complete the strikeout. So Westbrook, who doesn't strike out many, has 2. We must point out that strikeouts have come in bunches for the Royals in the past couple of games. They struck out 8 times last night and 16 times in the afternoon game on Thursday.
Yeah, I think a lot of that you have to attribute to the pitcher on the mound. In Oakland.
Gio Gonzalez.
Gio Gonzalez. Thinking Italian here. Gio Gonzalez had a really nice game going, so you have to give the pitcher some credit.
A little bit inside and ball 1 on Matt Trainer. So Trainer hitless last night, but again set up that go-ahead run in the 8th inning with a sacrifice bunt. And Theriot diving all over the field. This time couldn't get the grip he was hoping for, so it's an infield single, but the fans here appreciate the effort.
Almost a chance for another great type play from Ryan Theriot up the middle. This time he just can't make the exchange, get rid of the ball here. I think he had maybe a little more time than he thought he had with Matt Trainer running.
So runner at first, and now Chris Getz. We had a tough series in Oakland, but got off to a good start here last night. 2 hits, 2 runs scored, adding at 245. Oh, and 2. Strange to say this, because I know Jake Westbrook wants to retire Chris Getz, but in the National League, the goal is, if you can pull it off, for the number 8 hitter to be the final out in the inning. That means the pitcher leads off the next inning. If Chris Getz makes out here, well, the Royals have Escobar leading off the next inning, and then hoping they can get a bunt from Vin Mazzaro. And I say funny to say this because if Getz were to reach and Westbrook were to get Escobar, it would mean an extra base runner for the Royals, more pitches for Westbrook, but in some ways mission accomplished in the National League style.
Right, sometimes it's important to be able to orchestrate the lineup. If you have the stuff to do it and the ability to do it, sure in your favor.
And it's slapped to left field. Now the goal is for the Royals to make the Cardinals pay for that. And the Royals' hottest hitter right now comes to the plate in Alcides Escobar. We'll take a look at tonight's league leaders, brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. Top June batting averages by shortstops in both leagues. J.J. Hardy's having an excellent year for the Orioles. Jose Reyes leads the National League in hitting. Troy Tulowitzki, another good year for the Rockies. And Alcides Escobar at 345 this month.
Right, a couple guys you're used to seeing on that list, but certainly not Alcides Escobar. So it's great to see him making the progress that he's made since making the adjustments with Kevin Seitzer.
Now the Royals have been trying to get Escobar to be more patient lately. But chances are he's not going to get anything good to hit here with Mazzaro in the on deck circle. There's two pitches that are down and away, throw to first. And the Cardinals almost got the final out, getting Chris Getz. And boy, do you have to be on red alert every pitch with Yadier Molina behind the plate.
He reminds me so much of Ivan Rodriguez. You just never know. Even though Pujols is behind him, he gets in quick and just a quick snap throw.
There's a strike to Escobar, 2-1.
Yeah, it looked like it might have been a planned play the way he was set up to receive the pitch.
A very low caught stealing percentage for his standards. Molina has won 3 Gold Gloves. Again, staying away, 3 balls and 1 strike.
Take a look at how he sets up here. He's got that right foot back, so he's able to make that pivot and make a quick release down to first base.
Three balls, 2 strikes. Interesting. So maybe if you're paying attention, we talk about pitchers tipping their pitches. Molina at times might be tipping what he's going to do as far as throwing down to the bases based on his setup.
Right. That's something that your first base coach may want to take a look at and just make sure that you're letting your guy know that, hey, there may be a play on here.
Runners go. Escobar lines it to left center field. The Royals will take the lead on an extra base hit from Escobar. He's going to try for 3. Terrio first look to second and goes to third, too late. So the Cardinals wanted Escobar to be the final out. Instead, he drives in 2.
Right here you can see he gets his first triple of the year. I'm afraid the pitcher's going to start giving Alcides Escobar a little more credit with the bat at the plate. With the pitcher on deck, I'm surprised that he had a pitch to drive.
You know, I would think that Westbrook felt that he wasn't giving in to Escobar because he threw him a breaking ball, but that's all that he threw Escobar that entire at bat. So Escobar in the end got a look at 5 or 6 breaking balls. So he should have had it pretty well timed when he got the 3-2 pitch.
Right. As a pitcher, you don't want to show a good hitter at least 3 pitches of the same type in a row.
It is 1-2 on Vin Mazzaro, who is 0 for 4 as a big league hitter. Felipe Paulino had 2 plate appearances last night, dropped down a couple of sacrifice bunts, also had an RBI. And now Mazzaro is down on strikes. The inning is over, but with 2 outs, Alcides Escobar gets his first triple of the year. He gets his 15th hit on this road trip, and the Royals lead 2-1. From left to right, that would be Kevin Shank's wife Danielle, daughters Kennedy and Madison, Steve Kurtenbach's wife Erin in the middle. That would be Sarah Lefevre on the right. Everyone trying to keep an eye on almost 16-month-old Micah, which is a full-time job.
I can tell. I had a chance to see Sarah in the hotel lobby today. She had her hands full.
By the way, that is not his sign. This is not his first game, nor is it Kennedy Shank's first game. Something will be dropped from that level down to the level below. I can promise you that. And maybe even before this inning is over. Cardinals had taken a 1-0 lead. Ryan Terrio doubled against Vin Mazzaro to begin the inning. Went to third on a wild pitch. Colby Rasmus got him home on a sac fly. And then with 2 outs in the second inning, Alcides Escobar just hit a triple to drive in Matt Trainer and Chris Getz. So Vin Mazzaro pitching with the lead, and 1-2 on Lance Berkman. Escobar now on this road trip is 15 out of 25. Up the middle, the Royals infield was shifted over to the right, but Berkman still finds a hole, and the Cardinals have another leadoff hit. Before we started tonight, we looked at some of the best players born in the state of Missouri that are in the big leagues. So we're going to break those groups down, pitchers and position players. Tonight, we ask you, who is your favorite pitcher from the state of Missouri? A, Jake Arrieta, born in Farmington, grew up in Texas. Mark Burley, born, raised in St. Charles. Sean Markham from Excelsior Springs outside of Kansas City. Max Scherzer in St. Louis. Ball 1 to Yadier Molina. So send in your text message tonight. You'll get a bounce back text message from Sprint with information on how you can register to win a suite at Kauffman Stadium for a game, and you can host 11 guests.
Right, that would be a pretty good starting rotation for about any team in baseball.
Two balls and no strikes on Yadier Molina. Did not play last night. Was behind the plate for all 10 innings 2 nights ago in Washington. Molina is a gamer. A couple of years ago, he played in 140 games. That is pulled past Moustakas, up the line. Alex on it quickly, flips to third, and not in time. Behind Berkman is Molina into second base.
Looks like a pitcher just goes back out over to the middle part of the plate. Probably want to finish down a little bit more with this pitch. Does a nice job getting it down the line, keeping it fair. Alex gets rid of the ball quickly, but just not in time to get the not so fast Lance Berkman at third base.
It is ruled a single, and Molina goes to second base on the throw to third. And now Daniel Descalzo. And he's after the first pitch. Lifts it to left. Alex heaves it towards the plate. And now Molina is caught in a rundown. So the game is tied, but Molina with a base running error.
Molina was trading an out for a run here. Want to make sure the ball didn't go through and have a chance to get Berkman at the plate. I don't know that Alex had much of a chance to get Berkman at the plate, so probably not a wise play on behalf of Molina. Almost has to surrender here between second and third base.
So 2 outs, nobody on. The game is tied, and now Jake Westbrook batting 8th. Fouls the first pitch away. Well, another good reason right there to hit the cutoff man, whether you're throwing as hard and as far as you can, trying to get the runner at the plate. By hitting the cutoff man, that is a foul ball, by the way. If that ball goes past Mike Moustakas and all the way to the plate, well, then all of a sudden it looks like a heads-up play by Yadier Molina going to third.
Yeah, it does, and I think that's if you got a fast runner, you're probably going to go ahead and go to second base and make sure that he doesn't have an opportunity to go from first to second.
Alex trying to throw out Lance Berkman at third following the Molina single. That allowed Molina to go into scoring position. And then the throw to the plate after it was cut off resulted in Molina being retired. Cardinals tie the game on the Descalzo sacrifice fly. Royals baseball is brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. And by 5 Hour Energy. Fixes tired fast. One shot, back to work. Problem solved. During this 3-game series, the Royals and Cardinals are wearing a special Teams Unite for Joplin patch. Fans have an opportunity to help support the Joplin relief effort by purchasing the commemorative patch for $10 online at royals.com/Joplin or at Kauffman Stadium beginning on Tuesday, June 21st. All proceeds will benefit Joplin relief efforts. So a 2-2 tie in the top of the order for the Royals in the 3rd inning. Alex Gordon, Melky Cabrera, Eric Hosmer went down 1-2-3 in the 1st, and then Jake Westbrook retired the first 2 in the 2nd before Matt Trainer reached on an infield single. Chris Getz singled, and Alcides Escobar hit a 2-run triple with pitcher Vin Mazzaro on deck.
Yeah, a really nice piece of hitting, driving the ball in the left center field.
Every play means something, and if Ryan Theriot diving on the ground ball from Matt Trainer is able to find the grip, that inning is over.
3rd out of the inning, no more damage.
2 balls and 2 strikes on Alex. Struck out swinging at a fastball in the 1st inning, making Westbrook throw 9 pitches. Alex has been on base in all 6 games he has played in during this road trip. This is his 7th game. Got the day off on Thursday afternoon. He has driven in 6 runs. He has not scored a run. And now make it 7 times he has been on base, as Westbrook gives up a leadoff walk. Every Wednesday is Ink Student Night at Kauffman Stadium and local music showcase. Get a $7 game ticket, pregame happy hour specials, and enjoy one of KC's best bands. This Wednesday, it's music from Hearts of Darkness before the Royals take on the Diamondbacks at 7:10. Diamondbacks for 3 beginning Tuesday night, and then next weekend the Royals will be hosting the Chicago Cubs. Melky trying to bunt towards 3rd. He fouls it away.
Speaking of the Cubs, seeing Jake Westbrook on the mound, being a Georgia native, he used to watch the Braves a lot. He's an Atlanta Braves fan, and Greg Maddux, a former Cub, was a player he really tried to style his pitching after. He liked the fact that he wasn't an overpowering type pitcher, liked the fact that he went right at guys and he could throw a complete game in 85 pitches or less.
No balls and 2 strikes on Melky. He grounded back to the mound in the 1st inning. So with that being said, Monty, I would think Jake Westbrook is not happy with these 2 numbers.
Yeah, he's not been able to get deep into games, throwing a lot of pitches. And you go through spells and slumps as a pitcher, just like you do as a hitter, and he's in one of those slumps right now.
One ball and 2 strikes on Melky. Melky has the most career at bats of any Royal against Westbrook, 18 after his ground out in the 1st inning. Only 2 hits, but one of those was a home run. Goes the other way, and Matt Holliday makes the catch. 1 down. Gordon back to first base. Take a look at the numbers in tonight's Sprint You Call It question. Your favorite pitcher from the state of Missouri. 53% going with Mark Burley, born in St. Charles, went to Jefferson City Junior College, where he was drafted in the 38th round by the Chicago White Sox. How about that find?
I think the interesting one on there is Jake Arrieta. He's really thrown the ball well against the Royals, but he did move from Missouri early in his life, moved to Texas.
Eric Hosmer grounded out to second base in the 1st inning, so 1 for 6 in this series. And now tapped out in front of the plate. Molina will play it to first. Gordon moves up to second base. So an out, but a runner in scoring position for Jeff Francoeur, who leads the Royals with 43 RBIs. And he lost a base hit on a diving stop at short by Theriot in the second inning, who nearly made 2 diving plays on ground balls. Down and in, 1 ball, no strikes.
I know Jeff Francoeur was very frustrated in Oakland. He hit a lot of balls hard, hit balls in the gaps, but Oakland outfielders ran him down. I think he's probably feeling exactly the same way tonight with a nice ball hit early in the game in his first at bat.
He said after the game on Thursday in Oakland that he was ready to get away from the West Coast. He was ready to come back to the Midwest. And in his first at bat last night, drove in a run with a base hit. With the exception of during the day, the ball really doesn't carry all that well in Oakland or in Anaheim for that matter. Much better with the humidity of the Midwest, even though this is pretty low humidity. There's Francoeur with a 1 RBI advantage over Melky Cabrera, and he was hacking on 3-0 and fouled it away.
So with a runner in scoring position, you got a guy like Francoeur at the plate, leading your team in RBIs, give him the green light.
Jake Westbrook trying to work around a leadoff walk. Alex Gordon standing at second base with 2 outs. Fouled away again.
I think Francoeur would like to have that pitch back. Got a breaking ball up in the strike zone. Sort of the base open. Westbrook's not going to give in to Jeff Francoeur in this situation.
Got a veteran up there at the plate. You have a rookie on deck. And a rookie who just happens to be hitless in his last 12 at bats. Francoeur loses his bat, and Schumacher throws him out from the outfield. So the Royals are unable to turn that leadoff walk into a run. 2-2 tie. Cardinals coming up in the bottom of the third as we look at the Time Warner Cable wideband internet pitch speeds. And both pitchers are similar in style, sinker ball pitchers, and similar in velocity.
Very similar in style and exact in velocity.
Well, when your pitcher bats 8th, it's more acceptable when the number 8 hitter makes the final out. So Skip Schumacher leads off. He was the leadoff hitter for the Cardinals last night. Tonight he bats 9th. 0 for 4 with a walk and a run scored last night. And line to center field. The Cardinals have had the leadoff man on in each of the first 3 innings. Like Schumacher went down and got a pretty good pitch.
Yeah, that's a nice pitch. He did. He went down nicely, stayed with it, didn't give up on it, serves it into center field. He looked more like a leadoff hitter than a number 9 hitter right there.
Schumacher and a couple of his teammates tonight going with the throwback look of the. Although I don't think those are actual stirrups. I think those are just socks. Ryan Theriot at the plate going with the same look.
When you lose 7 in a row, you try about anything, Ryan.
Theriot doubled up the right field line in the first inning, scored on a sacrifice fly from Colby Rasmus. So Theriot, who was out last night Has a base hit, a run scored. He's made a nice play on defense. We were telling you early in the game, Vin Mazzaro in his start on Sunday at the Angels, in his 7 innings, 5 times the leadoff man reached, but nobody scored. Tonight, the leadoff man has reached in each of the first 3 innings, and they both scored in innings 1 and 2. And now Schumacher runs. Terrio fouls it away.
You play a fire too many times, you're going to get burned.
Slicing to right center field. Long run for Melky Cabrera, but he got a very good jump, made it look easy. Schumacher is back to first, 1 out. Well, Royals fans, next homestand, it's the Diamondbacks and then the Chicago Cubs make a rare visit to Kansas City. Friday, June the 24th through Sunday, June the 26th. And great tickets are still available. They will go fast. So if you're interested, now's the time to call 1-800-6-ROYALS or go online at Royals.com to secure those seats. In interleague play, Royals have Arizona and Chicago at home. And then on the next road trip, the Royals will go to San Diego and then Denver. Colby Rasmus with a sac fly to left field in the first. Still 0 for his last 12. And ball 1 from Vin Mazzaro.
Ryan, talking about trying things different to get out of a slump. It looks like we got a different hairstyle here. If you look at the board in center field from our vantage point, you see long hair for Colby Rasmus, and he's got that clean cut look now.
You know, when guys take those pictures in spring training, they got to remember that if they change their hairstyle during the regular season, that picture from spring training is not only going to be up on the video board at home, but that's the same picture that will be used all around the league.
Exactly.
So it's a commitment when you show up with your hairstyle in spring training.
Got to stay with it. But when you lose 7 in a row, you got to do something different.
Left center field, slicing back towards Alex Gordon. So Schumacher with the leadoff single is still at first, and now there are 2 outs. And now Mazzaro will get Albert Pujols, and interesting how he went after Pujols in the first inning, and he did go right after him, 3 pitches, and on an 0-2 pitch got a pop out to short.
Yeah, very fortunate to get away with that 0-2 pitch. It was a slider that kind of stayed in the middle part of the plate, but Albert maybe a little anxious and popped it up.
This time Mazzaro is down and away for ball 1. The most difficult hitter in the National League to strike out is Placido Polanco, who's playing for the Phillies, and that shouldn't be a surprise to people who have followed him over the last several years. He was the toughest to strike out in the American League when he was with the Tigers. But right behind him is Albert Pujols, who is a complete hitter, normally hits for average and power, but you figure guys like this with a powerful swing are going to strike out from time to time. Not Pujols, who hits a line drive off the fence, and this will be his first RBI all season against the Royals.
Here we see a very similar pitch that he was able to get Albert to pop up in his first at bat. This time he does some damage, drives it to left center field for an RBI double.
For a moment there, he was about to go into his home run trot.
I think he may have thought. I thought when it came off the bat it was going to be a home run.
You know, he will get his share of long home runs, impressive home runs, but most of them are like that one, just a line drive that has so much carry and backspin it just sails over the wall. Matt Holliday grounded out to third in the first inning. So the leadoff man on in all 3 innings against Mazzaro, and all 3 have come around to score. Two balls, no strikes.
By Tony La Russa having Schumacher batting ninth, like we talked about, it essentially made Albert Pujols your cleanup hitter in this inning.
And that's where the original idea came from. Tony La Russa back in 1998 started batting his pitcher 8th because he had Mark McGwire in the lineup, and he wanted McGwire to bat 3rd, not 4th. Similar to Albert Pujols, he wanted his best hitter to come up in the first inning rather than if the team goes 1-2-3, then your number 4 hitter leads off. So on one hand, he wanted McGwire to hit 3rd, but he realized that teams were going to be pitching around him quite a bit as Holliday takes what is now an intentional walk. So how do you get guys on base in front of your number 3 hitter? And his solution was to bat the pitcher 8th. So then McGwire still hits in the first inning, but as the game goes along, you've got 3 capable hitters coming up before him.
Yeah, you're trading one at bat for your traditional leadoff hitter. Here, Skip Schumacher for Albert Pujols, or Mark McGwire in that case.
So 2 on for Lance Berkman. He singled and scored. That was leading off the second inning. And he takes a rip at the first pitch and fouls it off of third. Cardinals on their long road trip, 9 games, which ended on Thursday. They went 2-7, but Berkman hit 5 home runs on the road trip. And then during the first game after coming back from the trip, drove in 3 runs last night. 3-run double against Felipe Paulino in the 3rd inning last night. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Ned Yost loves to play the percentages, and he walks Matt Holliday, who's got a 1,000 batting average, 3 for 3, 1 home run and 3 RBIs. So playing the odds.
Ooh, that pitch stayed up, and Berkman fouled it off of Trainer's mask. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Little wake-up call here for Matt Trainer. I'm not sure he's thinking about that kind of wake-up call.
There are wake-up calls that you ask for, and then there are those that you do not ask for. They just come anyway. And Berkman knocked off the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That was a little wake-up call right there, too. Trying to come in, just gets it up and in a little bit.
Might have been a little bit on the dramatic side.
I'm thinking the same thing. His uniform was already dirty. He didn't have to get his uniform dirty.
And then got him with a slider. Cardinals score in a 3rd straight inning, and they lead by 1. St. Louis by 1 to the top of the 4th inning. Royals Charities is hosting a special online auction featuring commemorative Teams Unite for Joplin game used items from this series, signed and featuring the commemorative logo, including game used bases. You can bid now at royals.com/Joplin. St. Louis has scored in their 3 innings. The Royals got 2 in the 2nd. Moustakas hits a high bouncer to Albert Pujols, and he is 0 for 2 tonight. Sundays on Fox Sports Kansas City, join Tom Brokaw for Boys in the Hall, the personal stories of some of baseball's greatest legends. This week, It's Kansas City's own Buck O'Neill. Boys in the Hall, presented by Subway, where winners eat, tomorrow after the Royals here on Fox Sports Kansas City. Matt Trainer reached with an infield single in the second inning, which ended up being a big play. It was a diving stop by the shortstop Terrio going up the middle, but just couldn't find the grip he was looking for. So it was a 2-out infield single with nobody on, but then Chris Getz singled, and then Alcides Escobar turned it into a 2-run inning with a triple.
Matt Trainer's found a nice way to get on base with 2 outs a lot this year. Via the walk, via the hit.
You know, I asked him about that because his on-base percentage is so high compared to his batting average. And he was the one that pointed out how many times he's come to the plate this year, as fate would have it, with 2 outs and nobody on base, taking more pitches. And he's also come up quite a bit leading off an inning. And just being an experienced guy now, knowing that, you know, when you're hitting a little bit above 200, that maybe your best weapon is to just take a lot of pitches. And as a result, his on-base percentage is about 150 points better than his batting average. And that is drilled to deep left field. Holiday is all the way back, and Trainer has tied the game with his 3rd home run of the year. So there you go. Take some pitches until you can get one that you can drive. And Trainer ties the game at 3.
Get him deep in a count. Eventually he's got to throw a pitch you can put wood on, and he sure got one right here. Right in that nitro zone for Matt Trainer. Up a little in, got extended, drove it into the Royals bullpen.
That is a rare home run allowed by Jake Westbrook. That is only the 6th home run he has surrendered in over 78 innings. Now, he has given up home runs in each of his last 3 starts, which now includes tonight. But before that, he hadn't given up a home run in about 60 innings. Chop to Terrio. He gets a nice big hop. And over to Pujols for the 2nd out. Gets his 1 for 2. And now Alcides Escobar, who hit a 2-run triple in the 2nd inning.
Yeah, did a really nice job. Again, got a pitch that he could drive. Wasn't a bad pitch. Down he went with it. Ends up with a triple, driving in Matt Trainer. Chris Getz. Alcides Escobar with 6 multi-hit games on this road trip, looking to extend it to 7 here tonight.
And now ahead in the count, 2 balls and no strikes against Jake Westbrook. He's only hitting .600 on the road trip.
Going back to Matt Trainer's on base percentage, getting a lot of walks, but you know he was hitting in front of Alcides Escobar, who was slumping at that time, so he did a nice job in taking what they gave him, taking the opportunity for the base on balls if that's what it took.
And 3 balls, 2 strikes. It was 3-2 when Escobar hit the triple in the 2nd inning. Pass Westbrook. Terrio. Impressive to get to the ball, but no chance for a throw. And Escobar, for the 7th time on this trip, has a multi-hit game. So now he's hitting over .600 on the road trip.
Well, here Terrio is trying to maybe turn the table a little bit defensively on Alcides Escobar. Not able to come up with it cleanly.
It was a good throw, however, to Skip Schumacher. Ball 1 to Vin Mazzaro. He struck out looking in the 2nd inning. Terrio's Uniform was filthy in the second inning after a couple of diving stops. Escobar runs. It is a strike. No throw down to second base. 12 stolen bases for Escobar. So why not? If Mazzaro is going to get a base hit, chances are it's going to be a single. You might as well have a runner in scoring position if the Cardinals give you the base. And now 1-2 on Mazzaro.
Under a lot of pitching circumstances, you wouldn't take that chance, but with the slow move home by Jake Westbrook and doesn't hold runners on well, he was able to take advantage of that.
Mazzaro strikes out again. The Royals get a run. Matt Trainer with one out hits his third home run of the year. And we go to the bottom of the fourth, tied at 3. It was a one-run game last night, 5-4 Royals, and now tied at 3 to the bottom of the fourth inning. Here is tonight's AT&T trivia question. Who are the 2 players from Joplin, Missouri that played in the 1985 World Series?
I'm totally stumped on that one.
One pitch and one out for Vin Mazzaro, and for the first time tonight, the Cardinals leadoff hitter does not reach with a base hit, and that runner in the first, second, and third innings eventually came around to score. That makes Yadier Molina 1 for 2 tonight. Now Alcides Escobar hitting .615 on this road trip. Now Daniel Descalzo. Descalzo and Mazzaro. Sounds like a boxing match in Rome. 2 balls and no strikes. Second base umpire is Ed Rapuano. So Italian heritage is well represented on the field tonight. Ed Rapuano for years during the offseason has gone to Italy to give baseball clinics. He is the crew chief.
We throw a little Gio Gonzalez in there, we have quite a party.
That is Mazzaro's second walk. The Cardinals have 1 on and 1 out. This July, baseball's biggest stars will gather together in the Arizona desert for one spectacular night in the summer's biggest event, as Fox brings you every thrilling moment of the 2011 Major League All-Star Game. Coverage begins Tuesday, July 12th, live from Phoenix at 7 p.m. only on Fox. Now Westbrook gets the bunt down. Trainer tells Mazzaro to throw to first, which he does. So a 1-out sacrifice puts Descalzo at second base with 2 down. And brings up number 9 hitter Skip Schumacher. So Mazzaro going for his first scoreless inning. So far of the 11 outs that Vin Mazzaro has gotten tonight, only 3 have been on the ground. We were telling you about that start on Sunday against the Angels. He went 7 innings, so 21 outs. 14 of the 21 outs were on the ground. And he doesn't get all those double plays if the ball isn't on the ground.
He had that little multiplier factor on his double plays too.
Over the inside, 1-1 on Schumacher. Singled on an 0-2 pitch leading off the third inning, and with 2 outs, Albert Pujols doubled him home. Pulled to first. Backhanded by Hosmer. And the Cardinals are scoreless in the fourth. We are tied at the end of 4. 3-3 tie as we go to the top of the 5th inning. Couple of sinker ball pitchers tonight. Jake Westbrook for the Cardinals and Vin Mazzaro for the Royals. Ryan Lefebvre with Jeff Montgomery. Monty, in his first 3 innings, Vin Mazzaro had 1 ground ball out, gave up 3 runs. Got his first scoreless inning. No surprise, all outs were on the ground.
3 ground ball outs. That's going to be the key for him for the rest of this game. Keep the ball on the ground. Going to get a lot of outs.
Mazzaro has given up 3 runs, 5 hits, 2 extra base hits. Royals have the top of the order. Alex Gordon leading off. He has been a true leadoff hitter tonight. Led off the first inning, led off the 3rd inning, and now leading off the 5th. 0 for 1 with a walk, and he has made Jake Westbrook work. 9 pitches his first time up, 6 second time to the plate. One ball, 2 strikes. Two and 2. Gordon, Cabrera, and Hosmer coming up in the 5th inning. Royals scored 2 in the 2nd, 1 in the 4th. Making Jake Westbrook throw a lot of pitches is important tonight because in his previous 4 starts, he has not gone 6 innings. 5 of his last 7 starts, he has not gone 6 innings. He throws out Alex, who makes him throw 7 more pitches, 1 down in the 5th. Remember, Royals Charities is hosting a special online auction featuring items from tonight's game with the commemorative patch on it, Teams Unite for Joplin. Auction also includes home plate. You can bid now at royals.com/Joplin. Several members of the Joplin High School baseball team were here tonight taking the field with the Cardinals in the top of the 1st inning, and then with the Royals in the bottom of the 1st. Both teams took the field with Joplin High School hats on, like you see with the maroon cap and the white J, and a really neat deal. The players came out and signed the hats that they were wearing, the Joplin hats, for the players that were out there, and then put on their respective Cardinals and Royals caps. Last night we visited with a couple of young ladies that played for the Joplin High School softball team. Three balls, 2 strikes on Melky Cabrera, Michaela Craig, who graduated from Joplin High School this year, and Danielle Campbell, who will be a senior next year. Line to left, and Holiday backpedals to make the catch. The 16 greatest moments in Major League Baseball All-Star Game history are going head-to-head to determine which is the most memorable of all time. Go to MLB.com/moments and vote now for your favorite All-Star moment of the top 16. And the results will be shown during the All-Star Game on July 17th. Eric Hosmer 1 for 3 with a 2-out single.
Nice to see Eric Hosmer take advantage of this situation. He got a nice pitch out over the plate, stays with it, drives it up the middle.
Another Another ground ball. Schumacher throws out Jeff Francoeur. Royals go down scoreless in the 5th inning. Here are tonight's Honda highlights. The Cardinals in the bottom of the 1st inning got a sac fly from Colby Rasmus, but the Royals came back in the 2nd inning with 2 outs. Alcides Escobar hit a 2-run triple to put the Royals in front. Cardinals got a run in the 2nd on another sac fly, Daniel Descalzo. They took the lead on an Albert Pujols double in the 3rd inning. And then the Royals tied it in the top of the 4th on Matt Trainor's 3rd home run of the year. So tied at 3. 1 ball and no strikes to Ryan Theriot. Now we'll slice back into the seats. 1 ball, 1 strike on Theriot. Vin Mazzaro allowed the leadoff man to reach in each of the first 3 innings, and they all came around to score. And then with 3 ground ball outs in the 4th, held the Cardinals scoreless.
And the moral of the story is, don't let the leadoff guy on base.
One ball, 2 strikes. Theriot out of LSU, drafted by the Cubs, which is the longtime and bitter rival of the Cardinals. So he had to switch allegiances when he went from the Cubs to the Cardinals. The Dodgers in between for a short period of time. And that's into left center field. And for the 4th time in 5 innings, the Cardinals have the leadoff man on. Theriot getting a base hit with the count 1 ball, 2 strikes. Remember, Royals Charities hosting a special online auction featuring items from tonight's game, including the Teams Unite for Joplin commemorative patch, items including player jerseys, and you can bid now at royals.com/Joplin. Fouled away by Colby Rasmus. So the patch worn by both teams. The logo on the bases on a commemorative home plate. We told you earlier, both teams taking batting practice tonight and then taking the field before the game wearing Joplin High School hats.
Right, Colby Rasmus from a baseball family. His father Tony was drafted in the 10th round in 1986 and still coaches at Colby's high school in Alabama. And his brother Corey broke Bo Jackson's state high school single season home run record with 24. So a lot of baseball in the Rasmus family.
And Corey, I believe, was a 1st round pick.
He was.
As was Colby. We just got done playing the Oakland A's and watching Jemile Weeks zip around the bases, and telling you that Jemile and Ricky were the 8th and most recent pair of brothers to both be drafted in the 1st round. Colby and Corey Rasmus, also 1st round picks from the same family. Colby 0 for his last 13. He did drive in a run with a sacrifice fly in the 1st inning. Popped up. Moustakas, if Jose Oquendo would get out of the way, makes the catch. 1 down. Nice effort. Who are the 2 players from Joplin, Missouri that played in the 1985 World Series?
Do you have any clue?
I'm blank. Oh, I know one of them. Darrell Porter. Got that one at the last moment. I remember Darrell Porter, who played for the Royals and the Cardinals. I did not remember Tito Landrum.
For some reason, Tito just doesn't really kind of rhyme with Joplin.
One of the few Titos in the history of the city. Pujols Right field, well hit. Francoeur runs it down on the warning track, trying to double up Theriot at first base. And there are 2 outs. Final game of this series is tomorrow. The Royals will have Monday off and then begin a homestand on Tuesday. It is a retro night as the Royals host the Diamondbacks, a throwback to the 80s. $7 Hy-Vee infield ticket prices and $2 hot dogs, peanuts, and small Pepsis. And the first 10,000 fans receive a retro Royals t-shirt presented by Pepsi. And now strike on Matt Holliday. Intentionally walked in the 3rd inning. Right before Lance Berkman struck out to end the inning. And Berkman grounded out to 3rd in the 1st. Line to left center field. Will the Cardinals do it again? Leadoff man on. Leadoff man coming around to score. Not this time. Cabrera to Escobar to Trainer, and the inning is over.
Ryan tied at 3 into the 6th inning. It's our Sonic Slam inning. Our contestant is Julianne Hunter from Shawnee, Kansas. If the Royals hit a home run this inning, Julie will win $2,500. But if the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Julianne will win $25 grand from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals.
That is a season high $2,500, by the way. And on deck is Matt Trainer, who has homered tonight. He'll follow Mike Moustakas. Melky Cabrera combining with Alcides Escobar to gun down Ryan Theriot at the plate to end the bottom of the 5th inning. 21 outfield assists for the Royals this year. That leads the major leagues.
It's been a very pleasant surprise for me seeing the way that Melky Cabrera has really been able to get the ball in, make some big plays, at least start some plays from 380 feet in the gap, throwing a runner out the plate.
Up the left field line, and it will be caught. Reaching out over the padded signage board, which you are not supposed to do, but a tough time running that guy out of the ballpark after that nice play and the ovation that he got.
Well, as the public address announcer in Baltimore would have always said, give that fan a contract.
Rex Barney was his name, the PA announcer in Baltimore. Doug Sisson, Royals first base coach and outfield coach and base running coach. So you were talking about how good the outfield play has been this year. Well, he's the outfield coach, and we've gone over many times how much better the base running has been this year, and he's in charge of that.
Well, you see him working on both of them, both areas of that game early in the afternoon. They come out early to work on base running and work on cutoffs, relays, and it's sure paid dividends for the Royals this year.
2 balls and 2 strikes on Moustakas.
And I knew Jeff Francoeur had a really good arm, and I knew he had a lot of outfield assists in his career, but Melky Cabrera is one that's been a pleasant surprise for me.
Seven outfield assists for Alex Gordon, Melky Cabrera, and Jeff Francoeur. Just foul, and it's still 2 balls and 2 strikes. Moustakas is struck out and grounded out, trying to bust out of an 0 for 13. And he is battling Westbrook. That's 4 straight foul balls. Our good buddy Mike Swanson, Royals vice president, just gave me a high five and handed me Bruce Chen's line in what could be his final rehab start. Three balls and 2 strikes to Mike Moustakas against Round Rock at Round Rock, where it happened to be 104 degrees today. He gave up 4 runs, 5 hits in 5 innings, struck out 7. He did give up a couple of home runs as Moustakas snaps the 0 for 13, and now the Royals have the leadoff man on in the 6th. 89 pitches in 5 innings for Bruce Chen. 4 runs in 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, gave up a couple of home runs. Thanks, Swanee. So leadoff man on for Matt Trainer, who is partly responsible for tonight's Chevrolet play of the game.
Well, we can talk about Melky, we can talk about Escobar's arm, but Matt Trainer is the one that put the finishing touches on this play. Looks like he had everything blocked off.
You know, major league players, you know better than I do, obviously, do so many things that look easy, but it's not really that easy. But you got Melky picking up that ball on the track, really didn't have any time to find the cutoff man, but hits Escobar, who really had very little time to catch the ball, make a good throw to Matt Trainer. And they practiced that quite a bit, not as much as they used to, and teams took infield every day. But if there is one little thing that disrupts the rhythm of that play, if Melky bobbles that ball, if the throw forces Escobar to run 5 feet one way or another, if the throw is a little bit to the first base side of home plate from Escobar to Matt Trainer, the run scores.
I've always been amazed at when Abner Doubleday invented this game, how he was so precise in knowing how long to make the bases to make the play so close.
Westbrook to second one, Terrio to first for a double play. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Kansas City Royals. They may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Ryan Lefevre with Jeff Montgomery, Joel Goldberg, producer Kevin Schenk, director Steve Kurtenbach, associate producers Al Broughton, Sam Abramson, and the producer of Royals Live is TJ McGinnis. Tied at 3 to the bottom of the 6th inning. We remind you that 2012 Royals Alumni Fantasy Camp, it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience featuring 18 Royals alumni, including George Brett, Frank White, Willie Wilson, John Mayberry, Dennis Leonard. You going to go, Monty?
I'm going to go.
Jeff Montgomery. One magical week, January the 30th through February 3rd in Surprise, Arizona. You'll take part in daily practice sessions, play against past Royals, legends, enjoy your own uniform and clubhouse locker, and much, much more. 816-504-4150.
And many, many stories go along with that.
The games are just part of the experience, right?
That's the painful part.
A little bit outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Lance Berkman singled and scored in the 2nd inning, struck out in the 3rd. That was with 2 men on base. Very high to center field, deep. Melky all the way back, leaping, he caught it.
That's a nice decoy.
Teasing the fans. And of course, as an announcer, it makes your heart sink when you see him look as though it landed on the other side of the wall, but I thought I saw it go into his glove.
Well, as a pitcher on the mound, you're sure hoping it's still in his glove when he turns around. Nice catch, saved a home run.
He catches it, and then just to mess with the fans, looks over the wall. Nope, here it is.
That looks like it's going to be on the ballpark to me. I think it was right on top of the fence.
No swing by Molina. 1 ball, 1 strike. So Melky threw out a runner, or was part of throwing out a runner at the plate for the final out of the 5th, and now possibly takes away a home run, at least an extra base hit away from Berkman to begin the 6th. Molina has singled and grounded out, 2 balls and 1 strike. The Cardinals now in 6 innings have had the leadoff man on 4 times. Leadoff man has come around to score 3 of those 4 times. 3 balls and 1 strike on Molina. Mazzaro hasn't had an easy inning yet. He also hasn't had a big inning. The most the Cardinals have scored against him is 1 run. Nice stop by Moustakas on the short hop, and then had to make a long throw from foul territory. And now Mazzaro has 2 good defensive plays behind him in the 6th.
Nice to see the range from Mike Moustakas moving to his right, going into foul territory, and then making a nice strong throw across. Doesn't have to be a real quick throw because he's got a slow runner to plate, but sure ranges very nicely. Again, all the way into foul territory. Nice long throw across. Plenty of time to get Yadier Molina.
Breaking ball down. Ball 1 on Descalzo. Sac fly in the 2nd inning for his 21st RBI, and walked in the 4th. Hosmer, a highlight reel of plays for the Royals in the bottom of the 6th inning. Berkman out, Molina out, and now Descalzo. Well, remember in his start on Sunday, Vin Mazzaro benefited from 5 double plays turned behind him. There have been no double plays turned tonight, but how about the 3 defensive plays in the bottom of the 6th inning? They are tonight's Miller Lite Taste Greatness moments.
You're right. There's a situation where all 3 outs are made on really spectacular plays. Oftentimes, I think Mike Moustakas' defense is maybe underrated because he's got this guy, Eric Hosmer, over at first making plays like this every night.
Jake Westbrook had gone 4 straight starts without pitching 6 innings. 5 of his previous 7 starts had been fewer than 6 innings. He has gone 6 innings tonight, now trying to go 7. Chris Carpenter grinded through 8 innings last night through 124 pitches, the most pitches for him in almost 10 seasons. Westbrook in a little better shape. He is at 106 as he's 1-1 on Escobar, who has 2 more hits.
Right, a lot of times sinker ballers get a little more effective as the game goes on because they lose a little bit of strength in the arm, and it gives that ball a little bit more sink, and it'll be interesting to see this next couple of innings how he does.
Escobar out for the first time tonight. He had added 40 points to his average on this trip before that ground out. We would like to take a moment to acknowledge that Major League Baseball and Fox Sports lost a dear friend this week in Laura Ziskin. Laura was a prolific film producer and studio executive. She produced many great films, including Pretty Woman, As Good as It Gets, and the Spider-Man movies. Laura battled cancer for 7 years, was the co-founder of Stand Up to Cancer, an organization that Fox Sports Kansas City and Major League Baseball proudly support. Laura will be missed. She was 61 years old. Mitch Meyer batting for Vin Mazzaro. Mazzaro struck out twice. Meyer is a pinch hitter. Last night singled. He is 3 out of 5 as a pinch hitter this year. 2 balls and 2 strikes against Jake Westbrook. Mitch 0 for 2 with a walk before tonight against Westbrook, and he works a full count.
Looks like the new pitcher for the Royals will be Tim Collins next inning.
Terrio goes to the middle. Close play. Meyer running hard up the line, and there are 2 outs. Once again, Royals Charities is hosting a special online auction tonight, and it will include game used items from this series, including the lineup cards with the commemorative logo signed by select Royals and Cardinals players. If you'd like to make a bid, go to royals.com/Joplin. Alex Gordon 0 for 2. He has reached with a walk. Two balls and one strike. And now 3-1. With the exception of the second inning, Jake Westbrook has gotten 2 outs on the ground in every inning tonight. 13 of his 20 outs have been on the ground. Belted to deep right field, and the Royals have taken the lead on Alex Gordon's 8th home run of the year. Jake Westbrook had allowed 2 home runs in his previous 11 starts, and the Royals have 2 home runs tonight. That one was impressive.
That was a no doubter, Ryan. As soon as it left his bat, you could tell it was gone right in the middle of the plate, a little bit in. Just a pitch that Alex Gordon is not going to miss very often. Jake Westbrook knew it as soon as it left his bat.
And now a strike on Melky Cabrera. Alex drives in his 7th run on this road trip. So 4-3 KC in the 6th inning. And by the way, Westbrook with 13 ground ball outs make it 14. So Jake Westbrook 14 outs on the ground out of 21, but it's the pitch that he left up, his 3rd to last pitch tonight. Alex Gordon drives it over the bullpen in right field, and the Royals lead 4-3 going into the bottom of the 7th inning. It'll be Tim Collins and a Chevy call to the bullpen.
Yeah, Tim Collins looking for a little redeemer here. He picked up a loss in the series in Kansas City against these Cardinals.
So Vin Mazzaro with a chance to win back-to-back starts. It's in the hands of the bullpen now. And the Cardinals will make a move. It will be Andrew Brown batting for Jake Westbrook. And going after the first pitch.
I think a real key for Tim Collins is to get ahead of hitters. When he has troubles, it's when he gets behind hitters and he gets in a situation where he needs to throw a fastball for a strike. He's got 2 good off pitches with his curveball and his changeup, but he needs to be in counts where he can throw those pitches.
No balls and 2 strikes on Andrew Brown. This is just his 5th major league game. His 9th major league at bat. 1 for 8. And Collins gets him on 3 pitches, putting him away with a curveball.
Just a real nice job of locating his soft speed pitch. He's got that unusual delivery. He's got his back all the way to the hitter. A little deception involved there. I think that makes him more effective. Not being very tall, he has to get on top, and I think that allows him to get in that position.
Down and away to Skip Schumacher. One out of 2 with a 3rd inning single. Came around to score on Albert Pujols' double. 1 ball, 1 strike. A win tonight, the Royals win this series. And they guarantee a winning road trip. Nice big bounce for Escobar. 2 outs in the 7th inning. And speaking about Alcides Escobar, nope, Alex Gordon, my apologies, our Jaguar Performance Player of the Game.
Hit a go-ahead home run. That'll get that award for you a lot of times, Ryan.
Eight home runs, 40 RBIs for Gordon. So the Royals have 3 hitters with at least 40 RBIs. Melky Cabrera with 42. And Jeff Francoeur leading the team with 43. Ryan Theriot has 2 hits, both hits leading off an inning. Doubled, came around to score in the first, singled leading off the 5th, and then was thrown out at the plate. Melky Cabrera to Alcides Escobar to Matt Trainer. 2-1. Vin Mazzaro gives up 3 runs, 7 hits in 6 innings, and now Tim Collins in the 7th. Did he go? First base umpire Ed Hickok says no swing. Mazzaro gave up runs in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd innings, and then finished with 3 scoreless innings. Got 3 great defensive plays in the bottom of the 6th. To center field, easy play for Melky, and it is a scoreless 7th inning for Tim Collins. 4-3 Royals to the top of the 8th inning, and now Panera will take us around the major leagues as we look at interleague games. Washington over Baltimore, Texas and Atlanta are tied. Rangers with a half-game lead over Seattle. It was the Yankees over the Cubs. Cleveland in front of Pittsburgh in a first-place tie with Detroit in the Central Division. Minnesota winning again. They won 5 in a row. Mets in front of the Angels. Milwaukee is in front of Boston. They have a 1-game lead over the Cardinals in the National League Central. Tampa Bay in front of Florida. Toronto leading Cincinnati. Detroit is trailing, so Cleveland in front, Detroit down in their game. Chevy called to the bullpen for the Cardinals in the 8th, and for the 2nd straight night, it's left-hander Trevor Miller.
Right, with 2 out of 3 left-handers coming up this inning with Hosmer and Moustakas. I'm sure Tony La Russa will once get Miller, who's very effective against left-handed batters in this game.
And Miller had 2 out of 3 lefties last night when he came on in the 9th inning. That was Gordon, Cabrera, and Hosmer. 3 up, 3 down. Hosmer grounded out to 2nd against him last night. Good swing on a breaking ball. No balls, 2 strikes. Hosmer with a 5th inning single tonight, 1 out of 3. Lays off a close pitch. Royals scored 2 in the 2nd inning. Alcides Escobar with a 2-run triple. Matt Trainer hit a solo home run in the 4th. Alex Gordon breaking a 3-3 tie with a home run in the 7th. On the ground is Schumacher, and Hosmer tonight is 1 for 4. The Joplin online auction will also include the opportunity for fans to secure a spot in the Joplin Jersey Handoff fundraiser scheduled for Saturday, June 25th, following the Royals-Cubs game. During the event, volunteers will sell $1 instant win scratch tickets, with proceeds benefiting the American Red Cross and Royals Charities disaster relief efforts. So following the 6:10 game on the 25th, Royals players and coaches will hand those jerseys off to each winner. So Trevor Miller gets one batter, and now pitching change, Jason Mott to face Jeff Francoeur. So Trevor Miller faces only one. We thought he might stay in there to face Hosmer, Francoeur, and Moustakas, but he gets Hosmer, and it is right-hander Jason Mott with one out, and Francoeur coming up.
Yeah, Mott is a pitcher that's the pure definition of a power pitcher. Can really light up the radar gun.
Way outside to Francoeur. Grounded out 3 times against Jake Westbrook.
And Mott was actually drafted as a catcher. They converted him, so he still has a little bit of that catcher's delivery from the pitcher's mound.
One ball, one strike on a fastball at 96 miles an hour. Batted just 188 in 3 seasons as a minor league catcher, and then moved to the mound in 2006. .94 miles an hour, 2 balls, 1 strike. Dave Duncan, longtime pitching coach here, and he was with Tony La Russa in Oakland, is very good at smoothing off the rough edges of a pitcher when he gets to St. Louis, either up from the minor leagues or maybe a guy who's bounced around. As Tony La Russa once said in talking about his pitching coach, Dave Duncan is as good as finishing off a product as any pitching coach in baseball. And one of the things he did with Jason Mott was convince him that even though he has a good arm, that pitching to contact is okay. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
And he's developed a nice little slider. As you can see here, throws a cutter a lot. Both those pitches are 90-mile-an-hour plus pitches. So if he can throw strikes with them when he throws his fastball in the mid to upper 90s, it's a great compliment for him.
On the ground to Pujols, who has 4 errors in his last 4 games. Two down in the 8th inning. I don't know if Dave Duncan coaches this, but it seems that guys with great arms that once had, as they say, high ceilings and just couldn't put it together in the big leagues, they come to St. Louis. It seems like the strikeouts go down, the walks go down, and more contact is induced.
I think a lot of that is the fact that he used to be a catcher and he used to work pitchers to try to get contact. So I think he tries to carry that philosophy over into his coaching with the pitching staff.
Chris Carpenter, who went 8 innings and threw 124 pitches last night in the Royals' 5-4 win. 2 balls and no strikes on Mike Moustakas. Greg Holland getting ready for the bottom of the 8th. He'll get Colby Rasmus, Albert Pujols, and Matt Holliday.
A little change of scenery for Holland last night, up early in the game. Now he's up in the late part of the game tonight.
Moustakas struck out and grounded out his first 2 times up, so he had been 0 for 13, and then singled to center field last time up. Scored the go-ahead run last night in the 8th. And that's lined to left field, so he's 2 for his last 2.
Tough for a guy like Moustakas who's never seen Mott before. Here he does a nice job going the other way. Take what he give you, and he lines it in left field for a base hit.
So runner at first with 2 outs for Matt Trainer, who's had a good day at the plate and behind the plate.
Yeah, he did a great job here on finishing the touches on this relay throw in from Alcides Escobar to save a run. Following up with a nice home run, left center field.
Third home run of the year for Trainer, and his first since April the 15th. 2 hits tonight, 2 runs scored. And that's a strike at 97. Pitch strikeout. Royals are down in the 8th. We'll see Greg Holland in the bottom half.
Joel Goldberg back at Busch Stadium, where the Royals lead the Cardinals 4-3 immediately following the game on Boulevard Royals Live. It is the Royals putting on a defensive show here in the Show Me State. We'll talk about that. And we always seem to have a daily dose of Alcides Escobar. Not so much just the defense, but the offense as of late. We'll talk about that. Ned Yost reactions, and we will take your questions. You can text them in at 432-432 space keyword live. That and much more coming up after the game. Ryan?
All right, Joel. Well, I said we'll see Greg Holland in the 8th inning, and we still might see Greg Holland. Looked like he was ready to come into the game. Colby Rasmus, a left-hand hitter, will lead off. So we'll see if Collins goes past Colby Rasmus, with right-hand hitting Albert Pujols and Matt Holliday to follow. Line to right field, and that's over Francoeur's head. Francoeur plays the bounce, and Rasmus has to hold with a single. So there is no statistic for what Jeff Francoeur just did in right field, but that's a good play to keep the tying run at first. And now Ned Yost comes out, and with Holland warming up, as I said, we will see Greg Holland in the bottom of the 8th. Tim Collins pitched a scoreless 7th. He stayed on for the 8th. Colby Rasmus hit his first pitch off the wall in right field, and because of Jeff Francoeur, it's a single.
You know, it's a decent pitch. It was down in the strike zone, hits it hard off the wall. I think Jeff Francoeur has a respect from the Cardinals base runners. Holding it first was Rasmus.
So Greg Holland with a 0.63 ERA will have to get Pujols and Holliday.
Thanks for showing up for work today, right?
That's right.
Got a job for you now.
I was watching Albert Pujols as Greg Holland came on, and I'm not suggesting that Pujols hasn't studied Greg Holland. Maybe he's watched video, maybe he hasn't. Maybe he's gone over the scouting report. But when Holland came into the game, he just stood in the on-deck circle, watched him warm up, took his warm-up tosses. Oftentimes these days, a hitter will return to the dugout, and the hitting coach will come out with a binder, and they will go over the scouting report of a relief pitcher. Albert Pujols didn't move. Runner goes. It's grounded to short. Safe at second. Out at first. So 6-4-3. Runner at second base, 1 out.
With Pujols running, Escobar had plenty of time to at least take a chance at second base there. Plenty of time to get him at first.
So Pujols hit it hard, but right to Escobar. Now the tying run at second with 1 out. And Matt Holliday at the plate. Point being that some hitters, and again, I'm not saying that Pujols knew nothing about Greg Holland, but some guys, and Pujols has a Hall of Fame resume already, is going to stand in there, go to the plate, look for something hard to hit, as opposed to processing a bunch of information on what he throws and what his tendencies are.
Well, and the Royals pitchers have been very aggressive toward him tonight, too.
Drilled to center field and up onto the grass. That's the first home run given up all year by Greg Holland.
Yeah, just a pitch that got up in the wheelhouse for Matt Holliday here. Greg Holland provided plenty of the power on the pitch. Matt Holliday power from the bat.
Cardinal fans waiting for a Matt Holliday curtain call. They got it. Well, Ned figured he had everything lined up. He was going to let Tim Collins face the lefty, Colby Rasmus. Rasmus singles. And then Holland, who has been so good for the Royals this year, getting Pujols and Holliday. Both balls were hit hard. Pujols grounding out to short. And Holliday hitting it up onto the grass in center field to put the Cardinals in front.
Ryan, Greg Holland had not given up an earned run until the series in Oakland when he gave up one earned run in his last appearance.
So Matt Holliday, after missing 13 games, being on the disabled list with a left quad strain, he's hit 2 home runs in those 3 games.
Yeah, he didn't miss a beat. Came right back his first at bat in the series in Washington, hits a home run, and hits a home run here to put the Cardinals ahead tonight.
And now Berkman strikes out 2 away. This might not be the best timing, Monty, in light of Holliday's home run. Greg Holland's not feeling very good about that. But overall, he's had a very good year for the Royals. What have you liked about him this year compared to last year?
I really like his aggressiveness. He's been on the attack mode the whole time. He has a lot of confidence in his stuff. I think he's got the same type stuff, the same repertoire, although he did work more on a splitter, which he's used that splitter to show occasionally, and I think it's led to some strikeouts.
Here's a slider for a strike. Yadier Molina is 1 for 3. Oh, and 2. Yadier Molina went out and got some tattoos. Looks like since the last time we saw him.
He's trying to figure out exactly what those were. I guess that's going to be difficult to tell.
And a 3-pitch strikeout against Molina. So Holland strikes out 2. He also gives up a 2-run home run. Matt Holliday hits a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 8th inning to put the Cardinals in front for the second time tonight. MLB.com's @BAT11 app for Android, BlackBerry, and Samsung Galaxy tab is live baseball. Follow the Royals wherever you are with game day pitch-by-pitch tracking. Plus, get in-game progress box scores and stats, breaking news, searchable video highlights, and game day audio. Text @BAT to 31826. Fernando Salas coming on for his 12th save of the year. And he'll get Chris Getz, Alcides Escobar, and the pitcher spot. John Jay takes over in right field, so a defensive upgrade, replacing Lance Berkman.
Right, his closer's position was one that really was elusive for the Cardinals early in the season, with Ryan Franklin having struggles. He had blown 4 out of 5 saves. Now with Fernando Salas, he's got 11 out of 12 in save opportunities.
Well, if the Royals are looking for something to use as inspiration in this 9th inning, the last time Salas took the mound was on Thursday, and he gave up a 3-run walk-off home run to Danny Espinosa in Washington. So the Royals might be facing a pitcher whose confidence is a bit shaken. Cardinals signed Fernando Salas in 2007 out of Mexico.
So we have a pair of Mexican closers on these teams.
We do. Shallow left field, and Terrio backs up. One down in the 9th inning. Remember, fans, you can continue to support the Joplin relief effort by texting Red Cross to 90999, and that will donate $10 to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. So Escobar at the plate. Billy Butler will hit for Greg Holland. Escobar, 2 more hits tonight. At the moment, batting .251. When the Royals left Kauffman Stadium a week ago yesterday, Escobar was hitting .212. 2 balls and no strikes. Talking about the 2 Mexican-born pitchers, Fernando Salas and Joaquin Soria, the home plate umpire tonight. Alfonso Marquez is the first Mexican-born Major League umpire.
Salas here reminds me a lot of Joaquin Soria. He's not an overpowering type pitcher. He's got a nice tight slider, keeps the ball down, able to get that fastball in the outer part of the plate down in the strike zone effectively.
Good swing, fouled it away. So Salas with 11 save. Eduardo Sanchez just placed on the disabled list by the Cardinals. Right before this series began, he has 5 saves. Mitchell Boggs has 3 saves, and Ryan Franklin, who began the year as closer, has 1 save. John Jay in right field for the second out. So it comes down to Billy Butler and Fernando Salas. So Billy hasn't started the first 2 games. There just simply isn't a position for him with the National League rules. But he has batted in both games. Lied out to center field last night as a pinch hitter in the 8th. Cardinals are 1 out away from ending a 7-game losing streak. Billy takes a breaking ball low. Billy has faced Salas once, and he doubled. 2 balls and no strikes. And that's a strike, 2-1. Cardinals have led 1-0. Royals have led 2-1. Cardinals have led 3-2. Royals have led 4-3. And now with 2 outs in the 9th inning, St. Louis is in front 5-4. At the knees. Well, there's the pitch you were just talking about, Monty. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, he's been very effective with that pitch. A lot he can do now here with Billy Butler in a 2-2 count. He doesn't want to go full, but he's not going to give in to him.
Got him. It was the Royals last night scoring in the 8th inning to win game 1. Tonight it's the Cardinals with a Matt Holliday 2-run home run in the 8th. They take game 2 5-4, so the series is tied at 1 game apiece. And now the Royals on this long road trip are at 4-4. The Cardinals, meanwhile, end a 7-game losing streak. 5-4 St. Louis. We'll be right back. Well, a lot of good things for the Royals tonight, except for the final result as the Cardinals win 5-4. They get a so-called quality start from Vin Mazzaro and another very good game on defense.
Yeah, they've been finding a way to get the ball in. Great relay from Alcides Escobar. Melky Cabrera making a nice play, potentially robbing a home run on this play. Then a little decoy. Here with Mike Moustakas starting a great inning of defensive gems. Eric Hosmer ending that inning.
On the offensive side, the Royals hit a couple of home runs. Matt Trainer hitting his 3rd of the year, and then Alex Gordon in the 7th inning with the game tied at 3 hit a long home run to right field to put the Royals in front 4-3. But the Cardinals getting 2 in the 8th off of Tim Collins and Greg Holland on Matt Holliday's 2-run home run. Tomorrow it'll be Danny Duffy against Jaime Garcia. A couple of good young left-hand pitchers. Garcia is 6-2. Duffy is 1-2. Tomorrow's game begins at 1:15. IB Royals Live is at 12:30. Cardinals win at 5-4. For Jeff Montgomery, this is Ryan Lefebvre. Boulevard Royals Live is coming up next.